Of folks. But Claudia, if you would please approach the table here and accept this group's check for $1,200 for your campaign.
I feel sort of terrible taking it because I know how hard you guys work, and actually you won your cases with very little money, which is incredible when you think about the work. David. Yeah, and you've got someone who's a super volunteer. Of course, believe me, I know how hard it is to put these cases together on a federal. So the federal cases are very complex. They're difficult to put together. They draft and you read them back and forth. And I'm complicated. You have Scott helping you. I sometimes have like a group like Chad and Matt Moran and a couple of others, and we get off. We're there all through the night trying to figure out what the right way to do it. So, but I do appreciate this. I feel honestly. I know it's a lot, and I know it means a lot to you. This issue is so important to our community. I mean, it just, and you realize it in this room. Not very many people realize it in our community, how important this is. Even today, they think, oh, that's over. It's not over.
It's not over.
It's never going to be over right now until we have a fair and level playing field. Right now, what we have is eroding property values, loss of jobs. And if I hear one more time the economic engine of Verona, describe for me an economic engine, because you take Utica, Rome, and you take our region, and we're considered one of the worst areas in the entire nation. How is that an economic engine? Can you explain that to me? So this issue is not going to go away, and I know I've talked to a number of people across Med and Madison County, and the people that get it, and the people that got it. Unfortunately, we don't have enough politicians, enough people in office to do it. There are people that are getting it, and I was just telling them sort of a fun little story. There's Jim Zecca, I don't know if anybody knows him in this room. He was a Democrat from Utica, and he works at the Madison County Solid Waste. Well, Jim decided to switch parties. He's a Republican now. He's not in office. He was trying to run in the city of Utica, and he lost. So what he's done now is he's on the Republican committee in Oneida County, and he's taken over the entire first ward of Utica with his group, and they understand this issue. And that is where we have to go now with this. One by one, we've got to get into the political parties and try to get good people in who are willing to stand up for this. And they don't have a lot of money, and it's not always money, and I'm living proof that you can be outspent anywhere from 13 to 15 to 10 to 1, and you can still win if you can get out there. And really, the only reason I'm able to win is because of all of you. And people like you who are out there, who are paying attention, you're listening, you're understanding, you're doing your homework, you're doing your job as a citizen, because we have a self-governing republic. We're supposed to keep it that way. But a lot of people don't understand what that really means, and we do, because we work on this issue and we realize how important it is. But a lot of people still do not really understand their role as a citizen, is to understand what's going on and to vote and to be involved in the process. And I'm hoping that we can make some change. I'm going to tell you that there are people in our community, when I won that primary, that are still probably sick, over it. It's just physically ill, they can't even come near me, and it's like, honestly, and I appreciate it, I am just trying to tell the truth. I mean, it's just crazy. And I'm watching these ads, over and over, and I was like, okay, this is the best they can do. They've got to go, we do 12,000 bills in a term in the state assembly, and they've got to, I voted, I made up all those votes, the ones they claim I missed with a paper ballot, and it's so insignificant because almost every bill that we pass in the state assembly is unanimous. Because the Democrats control 107, now it's 42, we had a member pass away. But we don't even have a fighting chance. I was telling Dave, I'm in there, it's like Stockholm Syndrome in there. We're just captives in this democratic world in the state assembly. It's very difficult place to be. But the problem is that until we get more people to kind of move their way in, we're going to be stuck in this situation. I mean, the politicians do not, until the Senny's gone and the governor's gone, we're going to continue to have to fight this battle. I mean, it's not going to be easy. But I'll tell you a little something about it that's interesting is, I'm trying to sell my mother's house. So she passed away last year. It's one of the reasons I missed some votes, but I made them up in a paper ballot. Let's give you a little story about how the assembly operates. So we have session from January to June, and I know they want me to explain this instead of talking about what I'm going to do, but a couple of you have asked. We have session from January to June. We should have session from January to April 1st. end, that's when it used to end. But because of the rule of Sheldon Silver and some of these people, they wanted to turn this job into a longer term job. So now we're in session from January through June. The rest of the time we're in the district working with our constituents, doing that type of work. So we introduce, as I said, about 12,000 bills a year. We probably vote on anywhere from 1,500 to 3,000 a year, and mostly they're unanimous, except for there's a few contested bills, like the budget bills. I vote no. There's only a handful of people that vote no more than I do, so that means I vote less with Sheldon Silver than all but 5 members of the entire assembly. My first year, I was at the least, but you know, it just depends on what bills come out. But anyway, so the rest of the time, we're in our district. So my first year I got elected, I represented most of you in 18 towns in Oneida and 9 in Oswego. I thought it was a big district. It's an hour and a half from one end to the other. And in 2012, I got redistricted into the longest district that was ever created in the history of New York. It's about almost 200 miles long. It starts in Utica, winds through 7 counties, and I go right up to Newburgh. I'm right on the border of Newburgh, down in Orange County. And I have a town in Sullivan County. So if I want to go to an event, say like a constituent event on an evening, it's a 9-hour trip. It's 3.5 hours down, 2 hours at the event, and 3.5 hours back. So it's, you know, it costs all that I pay for out of my own pocket. I don't get reimbursed to do work in my district. So I pay for that. I do maybe between 40 and 50,000 miles a year on my car. Plus I have to, you know, maintain my car, and then I got to pay for the gas, and then I got to take all that time. And when you're spending that much time driving up and down the throughway or through country roads, through Delaware County and down where there's, you know, pretty much nothing but local roads and in poor condition, I might add. It costs a lot of money and a lot of time. So I look at these ads and I'm like, oh my God, like I work harder than anyone, and I don't mean that other people don't work hard, but nobody has a district like this, where literally I've had to give up my life. I had to give up my life to do this job. But I sit there and I say, how can I keep doing this? You know, how do I keep doing this? But I know that groups like yours exist, and there are Americans out there that know that we have to fight the battle. You know, we've got a huge problem in front of us. If this Supreme Court goes the other way, if Hillary Clinton wins and she gets a couple of appointments, we're done. We're done with this issue. They're going to just hand everything over, and she is going to use the presidency just like she's used her position as Secretary of State and as a senator to enrich herself at the expense of our good nation. And that's what worries me the most. Whether you don't like Trump or not, you know, I just want to make sure our Supreme Court is going to be, I mean, look, I was one of the worst decisions, you know, I was so hopeful when John Roberts became Chief Justice, and, you know, now forget it.
So were we.
What a disappointment.
You know, this is terrible, but this is why this election is really critical, because there's some older justices in there on our side, and, you know, with Scalia dying, you could end up, it hangs in the balance, and that's how critically important it is. And so I'm going to try to get elected by telling the truth. I may not. I think I'm going to win, but it's going to be tough to stay there. But we're going to need people, you know, like you, to make sure we can continue to get the truth out there and get the word out, because it's not easy. I mean, I got on to Washington. First of all, they're all having a heart attack in case Trump does win. They're all
That's what we want.
Hillary preserves the status quo. I mean, she does. I mean, she preserves the status quo, and they can count on that. And the DC establishment is very worried about, you know, Trump and anybody else who wants to change things. But we're at a point now where this country we don't have any checks and balances. Our separation of powers is all crazy. We have this overzealous executive branch, as we know. This issue that we're dealing with the Bureau of Indian Affairs and Department of Interior in this case. I mean, this is what's going on. This massive bureaucracy is going on in every agency in the federal government that's just suffocating us gradually. And we know that because we deal with it one-on-one. We've had it, you know, had it head-on. Not all communities have experienced what we have. So that's another reason it's so critically important that we continue to realign ourselves little by little. I can't do it alone. We're going to need a lot more people that we're going to have to get elected. It's a hard job. But we're going to need to do that and continue on that path, or we're going to be seeing more erosion of our property rights, our values, our, you know, everything. And we're seeing it, like what exactly cronyism and this unfair playing field and this type of scenario is playing out in our communities. And you guys know it. I don't need to tell you. You know, and Dave, these guys keep you up informed about everything. So that's just a little bit about, you know, my assembly, or just where we are. But one thing I wanted to mention too, so on that missed votes, I'll make it easy for you. If somebody asks you what it is, I had a 96% attendance record in live session, but all of those votes I make up for with paper ballot. I want to tell you one